So for our final topic here, let's get into dark brown Latinas. Now, as you guys may know, I'm from Miami, Florida, right? So I am no stranger to spicy Latinas. And so when I saw this topic, I was like, this is perfect for me. This is perfect for me. And I still love my Latina brothers and sisters, right? Latina sisters, right? Latino brothers, right? I still love everybody. I love my Latino brothers. Cool to hang out with. Latinas all day, every day, baby. There's a new manga that is coming out. It's a Latina-like novel, right? It is called, let me pull it up here. It is called the dark brown Latina girl is aiming for my body, right? This is a kind of spiritual successor, if you guys are aware of the Don't Toy With Me, Miss Nagatoro anime, right? If you're aware with that. Yeah, this is what's coming up here. Obviously, a lot of assets on display here. Now, yeah. Quite the fan service, giving the people what they want. So this is definitely Nagatoro kind of 2.0. Now that Nagatoro's wind down, right? So you've got this coming out recently. Now, why were people mad about this? Well, let's give a little bit of the background, and you'll kind of understand this here. So, Brazilian waifu in light novel surprises fans on social media. So people were a little bit surprised by this. So the author of the romantic comedy light novel Kashoku Musume no Latina san ni ore no karada ga narawamata iru, the dark brown Latina san is aiming for my body, surprised his followers by revealing details against the protagonist Latina on Twitter. So they named the protagonist Latina, which is what pissed people off. According to the author, Latina comes from the Amazon region, and her second language is Portuguese, which confirms she originates from Brazil. So she's an indigenous person, so obviously she's brown, but she speaks Portuguese, right, as well. This revelation generated a wave of reactions on social media as they speculated she could come from a Hispanic country such as Peru or Colombia. Well, once again, it's a Latin country in general, Latin language, right? Portuguese, and if you've been to Brazil, a lot of similarities in South America, right? Of course, differences as well. So they got the cover. And this is the author. Says, as an author, as far as the heroine is concerned, she is from a background of being an indigenous Amazonian, and her second language is Portuguese. I chose the name Latina from a list of representative names for South American women suggested by an AI. I didn't expect it to be a word that represented Latina women in general, right? So once again, this is a language issue. So people got mad that there was that they named the character Latina, right? But the translation doesn't work there, guys. The translation doesn't work from like Japanese straight over into English, right? And obviously, when there is an English translation, they may end up changing the name or using a different name. Then continuing saying, she's originally from South America. However, she has a history of being an Amazonian indigenous woman. I believe that cultural interaction with the protagonist will be the focus. So it might be interesting to include a friend from Brazil where the heroine lived for a while. So the story is about a high school student with a seemingly ordinary life. Everything changes when he meets Latina, a lively exchange student with tan skin who radiates energy. From their first meeting, Matoko rescues her from an attacker, and Latina makes a bold decision. She proposes marriage to Makoto and insists they must have a child together. This unexpected development marks the beginning of a series of comical and exciting situations as Makoto tries to adapt to this new reality and overcome a major failure in his high school life. Right? This draws on Brazilian origins, right? Including the inclusion of Brazil in Japanese content. Others expressed disappointment and lack of originality. Comments such as, it seems the Japanese think that in America, there's only Brazil in the United States. It's always Brazil were frequent. Another fan said, where they show Latin American anime or manga, they put in a jungle or satanic cults. Some, on the other hand, defended the author's decision about this manga, this light novel, arguing that making the protagonist a Brazilian avoids greater controversy, predictable and better. If it were any other country in Latin America, the controversy would be greater. That may or may not be true. That may or may not be true. That said, what people need to realize is Japan and Brazil have a very, very close relationship. I was in Nagoya and Hamamatsu in that area of Japan just like 2 weeks ago, and what I realized is there's a lot of Brazilian workers there. Actually, when I was going through Hamamatsu, there was like a bunch of signs in Portuguese. There was a Brazilian festival when I was there. I actually may even have a picture of it on my phone. But there is a big relationship there with people in Japan, so Brazilians in Japan. And then in Brazil, there's a lot of Japanese in Brazil, right? And there's a lot of other people in Brazil as well. There's a Japanese diaspora there in Brazil. There's also Germans, Italians, etc. So it's really something where there is a history there. So the Japanese have something to play on. In fact, this is probably more quote unquote diverse than one would imagine.